Have you ever wondered if the tools you use every day, the ones that connect you to colleagues, friends, and family, are secretly watching you? It's a question that's become more and more prevalent in our digital age. We're all using platforms for video calls, messaging, and collaboration. But do we truly know what happens to our data once we hit send or join? Today, we're diving deep into one of those platforms, 8x8. The question isn't just what is 8 times 8, but does 8x8 track you? And the answer, as you'll see, is far more complex than a simple yes or no. Music intensifies slightly, then settles into a more investigative, curious tone. First, let's set the stage. What exactly is 8 times 8? For those who might not know, it's a unified communications platform. Think of it as a comprehensive toolkit for business communication. It offers a suite of services: VoIP phone systems, video conferencing, team messaging, and a contact center solution. In a professional setting, it's a powerhouse for keeping a business connected. This isn't a social media app you use to share cat videos. It's a critical piece of infrastructure for many companies, big and small. Because of its business-centric nature, the question of privacy and tracking takes on a different weight. When you're using a consumer app, you're usually trading some of your data for a free service. But with 8x8, businesses are paying for a service. So what's the deal? Are they getting a service that's truly private, or is there a trade-off happening behind the scenes? To answer this, we need to break down what tracking even means in this context. It's not about 8x8 watching you browse the web or tracking your location via GPS. That's a common misconception. The tracking we're talking about is more subtle, and in some cases entirely necessary for the service to function. So, let's start with the basics. Every time you make a call, send a message, or join a video meeting on 8x8, the platform is, by necessity, recording certain pieces of information. It has to. It needs to know who you're calling, when the call happened, how long it lasted, and what network path the data took. This isn't nefarious tracking. This is operational data. It's the digital equivalent of a phone company logging the details of a phone call for billing and service quality. This data is essential for 8x8 to provide reliable service, to troubleshoot issues if your call drops, and for the business itself to get an accurate bill at the end of the month. So, yes, in a sense, 8 times 8 is tracking your usage, but it's doing so for a legitimate and expected purpose. But what about the content of your conversations? What about the actual audio from your calls or the text from your messages? This is where things get more interesting and where privacy becomes a more critical concern. 8x8, like many modern communication platforms, employs end-to-end encryption. For their video meetings and team messaging, they use robust encryption protocols to secure the data as it travels from your device to the recipients. This means that, in theory, no one, not even 8x8 itself, can listen in on your private conversations. The data is scrambled, and only the people in the conversation have the key to unscramble it. This is a fundamental layer of security that any reputable platform must offer. However, there are nuances. Some businesses opt to record their calls or meetings. This is a common practice for things like customer service calls, compliance purposes, or for training. When a business chooses to record, that recording is then stored on 8x8 servers. In this scenario, the content is no longer a private, ephemeral communication. It's a recorded asset. But here's the key. This is a choice made by the business, not something 8x8 is doing on its own accord. 8x8 is simply providing the functionality for businesses to manage their own data. They are the custodian of the data, but the business is the owner. If a company records a call, it's the company's privacy policy, not 8x8's, that you should be looking at. What about analytics? This is another key area of tracking. 8x8 provides businesses with powerful analytics dashboards. A business can see how many calls were made in a day, which departments are making the most calls, how long customers are waiting on hold, and what the call quality is like. This is incredibly valuable data for a company to optimize its operations. Is 8x8 tracking you to create these dashboards? Yes. Is this data personally identifying? Not necessarily. The data is usually aggregated and anonymized. The company might see that user made 50 calls this week, but they're not listening to those calls or selling that data to advertisers. It's about measuring performance, not prying into personal lives. So, to bring it all together, does 8x8 track you? Yes, in the sense that it logs your usage data to provide a functional service, to troubleshoot issues, and to bill the company that pays for the service. It also facilitates recording and analytics for businesses that choose to enable those features. But does 8x8 track you in a malicious or privacy-violating way? No. The content of your communications is encrypted. They're not listening in on your calls or reading your messages without your explicit permission or the permission of the business that provides you with the service. They're not selling your data to advertisers. Their business model is based on providing a paid service to businesses, not on monetizing user data like a free social media platform. The bottom line is this: when you use a platform like 8x8, you are operating within a professional ecosystem. Your data is owned by the business you work for, and you are subject to that company's policies. The question isn't just about 8x8's practices, but about your employers. So, while 8x8 is a secure and privacy-conscious platform, the ultimate responsibility for how your data is handled lies with the business that's paying for the service. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.